My name is Mieko Hester Perez, and we're at Cannabis Capital Studios. In 2009, my son was given 6 months to live. I wasn't going to lose my son on my watch. I've been a legal researcher for over 15 years, and my son just ended up being my biggest case. At the time, he was 42 pounds, and you could see the bones in his chest. And I initially wanted to just treat anorexia and malnutrition. And my first thoughts were Cheech and Chong. You know, how do I get my son to eat? So I was at a doctor's appointment and I bust through my front door and I said, I couldn't possibly be the only parent who has thought of this. In 2009, Joey had an emergency educational plan. He was on the edge. He was like a wreck. I think we had gone through about 14 different medications. And I would get called from work, come pick up Joey. He's doing this, he's pulling hair. It was very difficult. I was a single mom. And he wouldn't sleep for 4 days. So I didn't sleep for 4 days. So after further research in the library, because at the time, I knew that I needed to present hard facts to support this, and I was able to talk to his medical team to be able to present the documentation to support my decision to place him on cannabis. His doctor and I, we had a plan, and the plan was to lower the dosages of his current medications. At the time, I think we had gone through about 14 different medications. He's now down to 3.5, or 3 rather, but it took time. It took a lot of time. Most of those medications, the side effects were death and organ failure for a 9-year-old. So I wanted to do what was in the best interest of my son's health. And thankfully I had doctors and I had a team that also felt the same way. Early on, I was working with DNA Genetics there in Amsterdam, Don and Aaron, DNA Genetics. And I worked with them with a couple of strains, then they left, and I was like, what am I gonna do? You guys are gone.
Me and Mieko met I don't know if it was 6 or 8 years ago. I was actually making a movie with a production company called The Ganja Geeks, and one of the videographers introduced me to Mieko. We pretty much instantly became friends. I fell in love with her and Joey and, her mission that she was coming out of the closet, as a mother who used cannabis for her child. I started donating to Mieko's foundation. Sometimes just trim, sometimes the leftover little nuggets from the bottom or something.
They would give me strains, and then I would give my critique of the strains, and then I told them, Joey's doing very well with this strain. I want to work with this strain, and I want to cultivate it specifically for persons on the spectrum.
The selection of Joey's strain definitely just happened organically. It wasn't anything that we spent time breeding. And it just was a coincidence, actually, that the strain that she got the best results from was called Alpha Dog. It's a cross between my own personal pheno of Star Dog, which is a Chemfather creation, and then I crossed it with Blue Dream, of all things, which is a huge sativa. And that's what is kind of ironic about it, is that it's a sativa dominant.
I had already had families in California that already been contacting me, and so we decided that we were going to do a survey of the strain. And the results came back very similar. And 4 years ago, we went public with Joey's strain.
This was the first time that I had actually linked up a strain with a specific ailment and alleviation of specific symptoms, you know, being seizures and anxiety. That's what was so exciting. It was the first time that I had ever, that combination had happened.
To date, there still is no medication used to treat autism symptoms. There are 2 medications, but there really aren't any medications. Everything is experimental. Joey, 5 years ago, was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a rare muscular dystrophy, and it's a terminal muscular dystrophy. You know, 7 years ago, we went from 6 months to live. Now, Joey's diagnosed terminal, and so my advocacy has changed a little bit, and it's more about the quality of life for patients.
When I first met Joey, you could not only just talk to him and not get a response, but you could literally you could put your face in front of his face and you couldn't get eye contact from him. It was almost like a magnet. You know, you put it on the opposite side, doesn't matter how hard you push, they just repel. And that's how Joey was when I first met him.
Immediately when he started on the cannabis, within a week, you know, we started noticing very different demeanor. He was paying attention to the television. He was paying attention to our dog. All of a sudden, this kid was a pleasure to be around after years and years and years of just being, you know, destructive kid.
It was months later, the second time I met him. We were in a room, me and Mieko, a few other people, and we were having a strong conversation, and Joey basically interjected himself in the conversation. He made some unintelligible noise, you know, and we were all like, okay. And so then we all looked at him for a second, and he became part of what was going on in the room, right there in front of all of us. And Mieko kind of looked at me and she was like, see, that's what I was talking about. And so literally now I can walk in a room and Joey's on the other side of the room and Mieko will go, Joey, Uncle Cushman is here. And I'll go, hey, Joey, and he'll get a little shy and you'll see a reaction, straight up a reaction, you know? And how much does that mean to Mieko?
In the special needs community, we really don't care what anyone else thinks. Until you've walked in our shoes, we kind of just, everything else falls by the wayside. This decision was solely based on facts. This decision was based on my religion, my faith, to preserve quality of life.
Mieko is a warrior mom. I mean, just raising Joey and her 2 other children, basically by herself, is a monumental task. I mean, you know, but then on top of that, to put yourself out in the media because you have a cause that you know is going to help other people, that's selfless, and that's courageous, and that's kind of the definition of a warrior.
Whatever your purpose is, whatever mission that your life purpose is, nothing can knock you down. And so through Child Protective Services investigations, through being investigated by California Medical Board, all of these other government entities that were hitting me sideways didn't bother me. I mean, I have a child diagnosed with autism. You know, there's nothing you can throw at me that I can't catch. Joey's nonverbal, and so I lost him when he was saying mom. And today, that's the only thing that he says is mom. And that's all right with me. All I ever wanted from the cannabis was for him to gain weight and smile. And that's it. And I've gotten so much more.